So hello everybody, welcome back. I'm doing this video because the last video I was talking about the things that they are not being mentioned in the news, and I mentioned the topic about food in terms of you not being able to find food in supermarkets, but you can still find food in certain places depending upon how much you can afford and all these things. But that was before there were other issues that was mentioned by several politicians that are in Europe trying to stop this madness or whatever it is. They might be able to stop it, by the way, but I'm not sure. Because people do not seem to realize how pieces fit together in a big puzzle. And so, right now, if you want to drink tea, you might even need to draw the maps and the things that I'm mentioning, because it will probably not make sense a lot, but it does make sense if you think about it, which is what we do in this channel. Think a lot about stuff, and it's insane. I will probably be preparing differently depending upon the place that I am in. But mostly I will be watching the videos about preparing for war, because it's not over. And I think that there are good news behind the curtains. A lot of good news. However, these good news are not strong enough, I think, in my opinion, are not, emotionally speaking, strong enough to contain hope for a lot of people in terms of the politics and its implication. So let's start by the beginning. So Holland and these areas in the European communities are being attacked by their own politicians. The reason being that the politicians want to take over their lands, because land is quite valuable. It's not the same dealing with people that live in a building than people that live in farms, because when you live in a farm, you have a lot of land. You also probably have a lot of resources that you have not tapped into it, like underground water, mining, plants that may be sold, because quite frankly, a lot of wood is also being sold at very high prices, because wood that is 200 years old is expensive, especially in Europe. And then everybody is sort of thinking that there will be a problem with the gas, but the thing is that can be solved by hacking. Let me explain this. I saw several videos in Spain, specifically in Spain. They are recorded by technicians. So a technician has nothing to gain from exposing this situation. In Spain, there are a lot of wind farms. In Holland, there is also a lot of wind farms, right? Because it is Europe. Europe has a lot of wind farms. And in Spain, the wind farms are being controlled by computers. And so the guy proved that the one wind farm won. It was blowing very, very, very hard, by the way, that day. It was, I'm not going to say it was a storm, but it was pretty windy. So the thing was producing one unit of the electricity thing. It was big. He said that this 1 unit was enough to power roughly 20,000 houses for the time that it was running. So that's a lot. But he needed to transfer the electricity, because remember, every time that you generate electricity, it needs to be stored. And from the stored, the stored point is sort of like you produce electricity, you put it into a battery. The battery needs to go someplace so that it can work. Well, in this case, the energy was being stored, and they were supposed to transfer it towards the city, through the cables. And of course, this is done with computers, so that the electricity, it doesn't go to your house too high or too low. It needs to be stable. If it doesn't come stable, then you will have all the issues that I deal with here in my country, which is basically all your devices might just, some of them will catch fire, and some of them will just be damaged, and some of them will overheat, and there will be a lot of issues with electronics because the electricity is not stable. The electricity is supposed to be 110 and 220. So in order for them to do that, they are doing this through a computer. Now, in my country, they do this through analogical processes, but in Europe, they do it through computers. So this windmill thing is producing one, I think it was a G or a T, whatever it is, doesn't matter. Point being, is enough, is a lot, okay? And as soon as he plugged in the computer, that, the computer has to say that it can take the electricity. Because obviously the computer, if you connect the battery and the electricity is not needed, you will overheat it. It's sort of like you having something on, like a water heater without water. Obviously it will overheat because it doesn't have the water. So the technicians must be very specific. They have to check whether the cable will be able to hold the electricity or not, depending upon how much electricity is available through all the other cables that connect to one another. So it's kind of like you going through a highway. There are several lanes, and each lane will have different kind of traffic, and you're not supposed to, overheat any lane. You're supposed to put fluid, and to make that happen, you can do it analogically, like they do it in my country, or you can do it by computers. And the computer will tell you, okay, place this cable, and then move it that way. So they do it like that. They sort of like choose this lane, plugged it here, because here is where most electricity is being consumed. For example, let's say it is a factory because it is night, so they need more electricity or something like that. It doesn't matter where they go. The point is that they need to pick cables, and they need to pick properly, right? And they need to store it, and then they place it. So the batteries, as in, obviously I'm not being specific in all the terms and all the stuff, but I'm explaining this as simple as I can. So he said that there were 6 windmills, and he took the video of the 6, and then he said the 6 windmills, the 6 of them, were completely filled, and each one was able to produce one thing, 1 ton or 1 giga or whatever it is. I forgot the letter, sorry about that. But instead of sending it to the city, and like I said, the device, each windmill will have a device saying what amount is needed in each location and each cable. So the electricity was actually needed. As in, somebody was using electricity. So obviously they need the electricity. They need the power from the battery towards that point. And the thing is that as soon as he connected the windmills, meaning he connected the electricity, the device shut it out. The device says it was not needed. It is sort of like the computer saying that there is a traffic jam in the highway, even though the highway is completely empty. There cannot be a traffic jam if the electricity, is actually needed. So it's either one or the other one. You can't have a traffic jam if there are no cars. So either you have cars or you don't have cars. Same here. You either have electricity needs or you don't have electricity needs. This is sort of like a system that is kind of a given. You need 100 units of electricity, you are getting 100. You cannot get 120. You need 100. And you need to have it constantly. So when you're about to run out, the system will say, hey, I need more power here, which is why sometimes there are power outages and stuff, because electricity can be rerouted through the cables. And so the machine says that there is, when you unplug it, meaning you have the reading, think of this as using the highway through a video camera. You see in the video camera that there is no car. So there is no jam. So you can send cars, no problem. So the electricity is actually needed. But as soon as you are sending the cars, the image just changes in one spot and there is 1 million cars in the highway in a nanosecond. That's just impossible. That just doesn't happen. So the data from this computer is being altered. That being said, what I'm trying to explain here through this video, the guy was very specific, was that Spain is using all of the gas that they have as an emergency, and they are not using the windmills. And the windmills, the storage is already filled to the top. So you have two sources, gas and the windmills, that are completely filled, and they are able to produce enough electricity to power the entire city. No problem. So basically they don't need the gas. The gas can be used for an actual emergency, like when the wind is not strong enough, or if the windmill needs maintenance or something like that. And instead, they shut down each one of the machines that are producing the electricity with the wind, because they need to get rid of all the gas. So that doesn't make any sense, does it? So the technician says, if you're paying more for electricity, and then you find yourself in winter that you cannot afford electricity, and there is a power outage and all of these things, is because the people in charge of this programming have denied access for the wheel mills to send electricity to these places. So that is huge, because then that will mean that there is no crisis in terms of electricity. And I know because we have problems here in my country with electricity. And our crisis is entirely real. Oh, and by the way, they tried blaming it into computers, but they can't, because our system is analog. As in, our system requires actual engineers making things up and analyzing data and stuff like that. So it's not done by the internet. So if there is a hacking issue, then they can just put all the windmills to work, and then they will have no more issues in terms of saving the gas that they have for an emergency, and they will also be reducing the cost for electricity and all of these things. And the reason why they are doing this, according to the technician, is unknown. Nobody knows why they are asking the regular people to use the emergency fuel rather than use the ones that they already have in the windmills. And apparently they are building more windmills. So I have a question. If the windmills are not working and they have already too much electricity, and they're working, but they are not being used, then why are you building more? So for building all these wind farms and all these other things, they need land. And then there is another issue, which is illegal immigration, which is going on in Europe very, very, very bad. The reason being that Europeans have a threshold that they are going to be dead in terms of the reproduction rate. It's sort of like the Europeans do not want babies, so they need to replace the population somehow, because otherwise they will end up like Japan, which is using robots to try to keep up with the demand. And it's changing the entire culture, and it's changing everything because there are no kids. So Europeans do not have kids. So they are going to import the kids from all the rest of the illegal countries, mostly through processes that will involve violence. So two things that the politicians need. Land for the wind farms in order for them to be able to keep up with the electricity that they will actually need in other places, so that they can reroute the electricity to whatever place they need it. And this electricity will be cheap because they will say something like, oh, your neighborhood pays more electricity because that one is running on gas. The one that we are supposed to be getting from Russia and all of these things. But our community gets the electricity from the wind farm. That means that our electricity is cleaner and is healthier, and it costs us 10 cents. So we're paying $10 bills versus all the rest of the population in the other places that will be paying, let's say, $150. So $150 versus $10. So it's going to be huge. So the rich will be paying way less for electricity. And they will also need land for like an occupational territory for all of these immigrants. And they have chosen the immigration to take place into farming, so that they can build huge buildings where farms are currently located. And this has led to a lot of farmers being taken out of their lands, forced out of them by loans that they took that they cannot pay and other stuff. And it is so bad that some of these farmers are committing suicide, or they are found dead. I don't know which one it is. But the point is that either you commit suicide or you're found dead, but you are dead. So the farmers are being found dead in these lands. So the land now can be used for creating neighborhoods for the immigrants, and they can also be used for placing neighborhoods for the rich people that will have electricity coming from the wind farms, which will make them very valuable in terms of the cost of electricity and very sustainable and all of these things. But they will not be for the regular people. They will be for, of course, the elite. And at this point, everybody will lose, because obviously you still need food. but the food will be imported from Africa or whatever place they can find. And rich people will not have an issue because they still have money. So even if they destroy all the farms in the entire country, it will not matter because you will still have food in the supermarkets, which is what I have been telling you all over my videos. People think that the situation in my country is okay because there is a lot of food in the supermarket. It's not okay. If you are making $25 per month, okay, let's say that you're making 50 with the bonus and everything. So you're making $50 per month, but you go to one supermarket and that $50 buys you only 8 articles. 8. So you work all month and you can only buy 8 things that you go to the supermarket. One package of beans, one package of milk, one package of whatever, 8 packages. Let's say that you will get 10 to make it easy. So you work all month and you can get only 10 items in the supermarket. And that's all you are going to be able to afford. And that is you walking because you are not paying for transportation. There is no way that you will be able to afford transportation or anything at all to go to the supermarket. So, and you're walking also to your job because obviously with $50 you cannot afford the gasoline to get to your job or anything like that. So it seems that everything is okay, but reality is an entire different story, and that is exactly what is going to happen to the European countries, and it already started with the farmers. As soon as they are done with, let's say that they get one quarter of the land of the farmers, then that's it. That's all they need. They're done. Because as soon as they get one quarter, they will be able to divert all the electricity from the wind farms, and they will be able to locate all of the immigrants into these areas. And as soon as the immigrants get into these areas, the immigrants per se will kick out the farmers. Because it's sort of like you live in your house and then with neighbors that you care about for your whole life, and now you get neighbors that are killers or you fear for your life, or you don't know, or they are refugees and they speak another language and you can't get along with them, or whatever. The point is, it's not the same situation, and now you are freaking out. What do you think is going to happen? Most of these farmers actually have, all of these farmers have a life, and now that life is gone, and they have a family. And as soon as the family goes, I can't raise my kids here anymore. I can't do this. Oh, and by the way, they will raise their taxes even higher because they have, the same problem that they currently still have, which is you have animals, you are producing too much pollution, you have this, you have that, so you gotta pay more, you gotta pay more, you gotta pay more. So basically the farmers that are left, about half will just live on their own free will because they have families to take care of. And if you have to choose between family and tradition, it's the same thing that I have been telling you in all of the videos. All the families will be torn because some people will say, I'm not leaving. And your wife might be saying, yes, we are. We need to take care of the kids. And so we're leaving. And then, it's going to be war between your own family about whether you want to stay or leave. And there will be even bigger issues later on. So the situation will improve in terms of you accessing food. The problem is that once you access that food, you have to understand that that food is going to cost you way more money. And now it is going to very likely going to have to be imported. And you will have issues in terms of quality and all kinds of other stuff. And of course, the rich people will not have issues with this, but middle class and normal people will have a lot of issues with this. So the solution is change the politicians. And by the way, they are. In Holland, there is a lot of women who are pointing all of these things out. And there are some politicians that are saying that the farms are in demand for locating all of the immigrants, and they are also in demand for the wind farms. And some of them will be used for the very rich people who will establish communities that are, clean, cool, and all of these things, because farms, they are environments that tend to be isolated. They tend to be, huge. They tend to be, clean, and all this stuff that the cities do not have. So it will all depend upon the people. If the people do not get tired and they do not give up. If they give up and they start meddling into their own businesses, meaning they start chasing the food, or they start thinking that, that they can deal with this, then they will be like Venezuela. But if they don't, and if instead they choose to protect the farmers, and they choose to respect the politicians that are actually calling this out, then they are winning this war. And you will have the electricity back on from the wind farms. And you will not be in an electrical emergency like the one that we have here, because you do not need to spend all the gas that is from Russia. You can get it through the wind farms as long as the computers do not say that you do not need this electricity. So as long as it is routed properly, the wind farms can help. Of course, you will still need gas from Russia. That's just, non-negotiable, but not to the extent in which it is being told in the news. Not to that extent, because the technicians have made the math, and it's insane. You probably might want to do your own research about how much in megawatts in the G or D word or whatever it is, your city might actually need, and where is it coming from, and maybe you can have it rewired from that. If you have neutral politicians, they will not want to have their community, just wiped out the map because of the cost of electricity. So they do not want to deal with this problem. So you might need to involve the politician into doing this kind of research and then explaining this math to them, so that they understand that there are elites who are not politicians who are meddling to get these farms. And they are doing it through whatever means they have available. And one thing will lead to another one, and then the politicians will be dealing with the chaos, and the politicians will be dealing with the aftermath, and the politicians will be dealing with everything. And I have told you before in the bribing videos and in a lot of videos, nobody wants to deal with dark energy. Nobody, because every time that you are dealing with a dark energy, everybody will know that you're dark. Everybody will think that you're corrupted. Everybody will just hate you. And for a politician, that is beyond beyond their nightmares, because then they won't be able to get reelected. They will probably be thrown into jail. They will probably have, shame in their family members, and there will be so many other stuff going on. So the only way to deal with this is through a neutral kind of ground in which the math on the electricity is being explained. And then to deal with the immigrants, then you gotta figure out where you want your people and your neighbors to stand. If you support the idea of having, all kinds of abortions and all kinds of issues with babies, then the consequence of that will be that the immigrants will gain strength. It doesn't matter how you look at it, because most politicians will tell you that you probably do not want to go like Japan. Japan has people that are, 50 years old, and they are taking care of people who are 70 or, sometimes 80, and those people at the same time are dealing with their own parents who are 100. So you have one grandkid looking for, looking after 3 or 4 people. And they are not their children, they are actually their ancestors. They're elderly. And I do not need to tell you that taking care of one person, regardless of being a child or being an elder, one person is expensive, let alone 3 or 4. And it also requires a lot of time. And that means that basically you are also going to end up having no kids at all, because if you're 50, chances of you getting married and having kids at that age is an issue, which will perpetuate this cycle into an even deeper level. And the situation in Japan is about to get worse, because the government of Japan has already signed a contract buying lots. Oh my God, and I do mean lots. My God, the amount of guns that are going to be sold to Japanese is it's big. And so if the Japanese decide to go through the change in the constitution and all of these things, then they are going to be sent, the young ones, as in people who are 40 years old or less, they're going to be sent to Taiwan. Basically, they're going to be in a war with China. And Japan has a very difficult position at that point, because they don't have farmers. The actual food that is being produced by farmers in Japan is quite small. And I do mean quite small compared to the food that they actually eat. And at this point, not even all the money in the world from the rich people will be able to save them, because producing food takes time, and importing food also takes time. And if the exporters do not want to send you food because of whatever reason, then you are kind of screwed. It's kind of like Venezuela, who depends upon Colombia and the US for food, because all the food that we have in the supermarkets is imported. All of a sudden, having Colombia saying, oh yeah, we're not sending you more food. And then the US saying, oh yeah, we're not exporting you any more food. And then Venezuela goes, okay, so let's reactivate the farmers. And then farming takes about 20 years to start over. Sometimes more. If you're thinking that your garden can produce anything in 6 months, yeah, good luck with that one. I've shown you several videos. Farming, gardening takes 4 to 5 years to kind of be middle level, not even an expert, middle level, as in mediocre, and not, because, there is a full level, as in, yeah, you're producing nothing. You just spent everything and you have nothing. Then there is mediocre, as in, okay, I can have a little bit of food, maybe it will last me about a week or so. And it takes about 4 years to get to that point. So, no, that's just not happening. So the Japanese will also have to make decisions. And as far as I can tell, they are choosing to actually get the guns. And I don't know why you will do that. Oh, come on, you have a country that I have mentioned before. It's almost perfect. It's not perfect at all, but, instead of getting guns, I will probably open immigration policies that are better, as in, I will be bringing all the people that are in Latin countries that are, PhD in whatever, and offer them a job. Because, Latin people have way more, their culture, it's completely compatible with the Japanese in terms of, we party a lot, and we will actually be very happy to spend all of our money in Japan. We don't save. So what you're looking for is people that spend a lot, and people that have a lot of kids, and people who are very smart, then you're probably looking for Latin people. So if I was in Japan, I would be kind of like, yeah, I want to go to all the counselors, in Peru, Brazil, on all of these places, and just offer. And we will teach them, Japanese. Let's teach them basic Japanese. And because it's amazing. When I was with my Japanese friends, they never wanted to buy anything. But Latin people, oh no, we Latin people, we want that doll, we want that makeup, we want that thing, we want the other one. We don't know what that is, but we want 5. That one, oh yeah, I need that one, but I just want it, and I also need it now. And then you're like, what is that for? I don't care. I just like it, and I'm getting it. Latin people go crazy with money. If you want any country at all to spend all the money that they have and they don't have, look for somebody who's Latin. Especially women. Oh my God, all Latin women will go crazy in makeup and clothing, and oh my God, it's insane. By the way. So if you're thinking that, it's perfect, Latin are compared to other countries, we all have different kinds of lifestyles. Oh, and most women that are Latin, like I said, we have a lot of kids, and at the same time, they will party a lot. And it's just, I think that there could be a very big impact in terms of growing in Japan, because Latin people will wake up every day at 3 in the morning to shower and to be ready, like party makeup kind of ready at 5 in the morning, so that you can get to your freaking job at 7 in the morning. And people who are contracted to do something, Latin people are very punctual in the companies. If you're talking generally speaking, no, hell no. No, that one, I'm sorry, we are late. If it is a party and people say, be here at 7, no, the party actually will probably start at 10 p.m. But if it is a job, and if it is about to be responsible, 9 out of 10 people will actually be very punctual. So I think that, that there are ways in which you can accomplish goals in more efficient ways than the ones that are being taught, including all of the lies that are being mentioned from the environmental disasters and stuff like that. There are environmental disasters? Yes, there are. I'm not going to lie. They are. But They are not because of overpopulation, and they are not because of carbon taxes or stuff like that, because that's not truth. They're actually because of the chemtrails and the fluor that we have in the water. By the way, more than, I think it was 70, I think right now is between 60 and 80%, depending upon where you are in the US. Water in your pipeline will have fluor. Now, I do not need to tell you that fluor, you should look up all of the bad things that will happen when you are drinking fluor. All of the cancers and all of the bad things that will happen to your metabolism and to your testosterone if you're a guy, and to your sex drive. And I do not need to tell you that if you are a couple and you have issues with sex, you're not probably very happy. And so, if you're not very happy, you are also not spending that much money. But you are spending money into medication, like depression and all of these things. Depression medication, anxiety medication. So basically, there is a lot of people that will be making money out of the misery of all of these issues, so they need to keep it going. So if you really wanted to solve all the problems that we have in terms of pollution, I have mentioned before that there are boats. There are boats that you can take that will clean up entire rivers in less than a month. And there are factories that can produce electricity by burning trash. And there is a lot of recycling companies that are actually making a comeback in terms of clothing and in terms of so many other things. So you have 10 things here that if they are done, they will solve more than half of the problems that we have in terms of environment and in terms of heat and in terms of all the other things that we are going through. And not one out of those 10 things is being mentioned or supported at all. I mean, I mentioned in the video about nobody tells you about this, that there is a woman, and if she fails, we're all going to probably be dead. And I do mean all. I don't care if you're rich or poor, because we all need to breathe. And she has proven that we all are having neurodegenerative diseases and God knows how many other stuff we are having because of the chemtrails, and she is doing campaigns to stop that. And if we stop that problem, I can assure you that half of our problems will be gone. Half. And I don't think I'm being overreacting. I actually think I'm being conservative, because if you clean the air, then the animals will be able to do a lot. We will be able to do a lot, and people will be able to feel better. And if people, generally speaking, feel better, so why is it that woman is not being rooted by every single human being? I do not know. But quite frankly, if I was me, if I had money or whatever, I would put a lot into my charity money into her, and I will probably just shower her with whatever money she needs, because if she succeeds in that, then my kid will be able to live 200 years with clean air. And if you clean the air, everything else is kind of easier. Because I do not need to tell you that if you're working and you cannot breathe, then all of the work, whatever work you're doing, it's kind of like you carrying something, and you're like, versus you going like, that's it, I'm done, So no, my money will be on her, and in a lot of other companies and stuff like that. So there are good news. There is people making things happen, but all the good news are not hopeful enough because they're not being shared and they're not being supported. People support the farmers in Holland, but they don't support the politicians that are saying to all the other politicians, stop that. You know, they support the farmers, but they don't support the politicians that support the farmer. And then I'm like, what? So you are letting one guy fight a battle against 100 demons, but you are caring only for the farmers who are going to live anyway because of all the other regulations and all the stuff, because the one that matters, meaning the politician that is saying things by calling things by their name, is freaking alone. So yeah, I think that the whole reason why we are acting the way we're acting is because we have too much pollution in terms of air, and then there is too much pollution in terms of our water, and then there is too much emotional baggage that we are carrying in terms of handling money, in terms of handling anything. So I will start by stop paying attention to whatever happens in I don't know, places that you cannot do anything about. And instead, pay attention to what is happening in your own community and pay attention what is happening to the air. Because if you're rich, I wonder how much it's going to cost you to buy oxygen. You will be broke within 1 year. And if you're poor, you will be already dead. So, fix the air. That is the only international thing that we need. We need to stop the chemtrail thing. Yeah. And in terms of the other things, then support the people that actually make sense. In terms of focusing on the problem, not focusing on the idea. Because if you focus on the idea, it will be kind of like, yeah, I'm going to be like that. No, you're not. I would just need money to be happy. No, you don't. I just need this. No, you don't. No. Whatever you say, no. Because experiencing something is not the same as in thinking about it. You can think you can fly. But if you throw yourself out of a window, you're probably going to crash very hard against the floor and you're probably going to die. And the worst part, nobody will be able to revive you just to prove you that you were wrong. So, if you reincarnate, you will still think that you can fly. That might be able to be truth later, but not now. And so, we need to support the right people. And by the right people, I mean the people that are saving the air, and then people that are within your own family and yourself, and people in your community, which you should actually try to get to know and try to fix and try to help. And the politicians that actually say it like it is, despite that fact making them very unpopular. And anyway, I don't know why people are not saying these things, but I just hope that maybe you will be able to share some of these ideas. So thank you.